Hello and welcome to the Craft Witch Corner, where I yap and craft. My name is Dex and my pronouns are he, they. Today is an updated altar tour. Last year I did an altar tour and there are definitely still some of the same items here, but some things have changed and I wanted to talk about that. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to talk about is my medication. Same with the last altar tour, I keep all of my medication on my altar, mostly because it is where I spend my mornings and I spend my evenings quite close to my altar, so it's just easiest, but also because mental health is such a huge part of my practice, it makes the most sense to me to have it on my altar to charge up. I do kind of view my altar as a place that can charge items. I know a lot of people do not put anything on their altar unless it has been cleansed and things are protected and it's charged and yada yada. I am completely the opposite. I actually will put items that need to be cleansed on my altar and that need to be charged on my altar, because I feel that the way I set up my altar, the oils that I use, and the different spirits that are present on my altar contribute to not only protecting the sacred space of my altar, but also help to cleanse and charge other items. And like, this is where I do all my spell work. This is where I do a lot of my morning stuff. I spend time at my altar every single morning, and I just feel like it is a concentrated me energy. And I think the best way to get rid of old energy, like I get a lot of things secondhand. For example, this actually, we'll talk about this. This is something I got from my grandma after she passed, and I took it off my altar for now because I want to clean it before I put it back on, but I have been keeping it on my altar to cleanse any of the like negative energy that it might have picked up on before I use it in spell work. I want to kind of get rid of any energy I don't want there and replace it with my me energy and the energy of the sacred space that is my altar. So yeah, different people and maybe different traditions are going to say different things about that, and not everyone is going to be on my side. So certainly not an expert. I just do what makes sense for me and what works for me, and that is what works for me. So I would recommend giving it a try though, to see if it works for you, and if not, do it a different way. So yeah, okay. Anyways, I'm going to take my meds off my altar, and then we can take a look at the different items and why they're here. Let's do that. Starting over here in the left corner, we have my charm kit and my guidebook for my charms. I was a little bit undecided on whether or not I wanted to keep this on my altar because I don't necessarily do divination very much, but I ultimately decided that I did want to because I want to keep having these be like charged with the sacred energy of the sacred space that is my altar, as it is still a pretty new kit. So that is why this is here. All of these things are together. Spring is the season of the snake, and I have here, this is the snake and fern card from, I'm sorry, I'm like shaky as hell, but this is from the Woodland Wardens deck. Beautiful oracle deck, and I have that down just on chipped ass plate I have, and it just serves as a little stand for this selenite snake. And then I have this snake ring that I wear when doing certain things with the spirit of the snake. And then I just have this lighter that my fiance bought me, and a candle. I use this only for scrying with the snake spirit. In the future, probably not too far out, sometime in the summer likely, I will talk a bit more about the cardinal spirits. I still need to figure out how much they're okay with me sharing and also how much I'm okay with me sharing. But I am going to discuss somewhat about the cardinal spirits. So look out for that in the near-ish future. Then we have the skull ring. This is, I specifically associate with cardinal spirit, the crow. I decided to keep it on my altar past winter because I specifically wear it when I go to the cemetery, and I am still going to the cemetery, so yeah. This right here is a mug that my sibling bought me, and I have filled it with my magical rock collection. It has been sitting empty on my altar for quite a while at this point, from the moment that they bought it for me, because I didn't really know what to do with it. Previously, I was storing the magical rock collection in my moon shelf, and I've decided to take that off my altar, so I no longer had somewhere to store the rocks, and I didn't really know what to do with them. But I saw the mug and I was like, wow, this is perfect, I love this. So that's what we're doing. I have this teacup of coins that I still don't exactly know why I'm keeping on my altar, but it never feels right to take them off, so I never do. Here we have my rose petals, my rose oracle card from, I'll put on the screen what oracle deck it is. I can't remember right now. This is a crocheted rose that I made for the spirit of Rose, and then this is just something to hold offerings to the spirit of Rose. This is from the same oracle deck as the rose card, and I was actually going to take the rosemary off my altar, but then I realized that I will probably be working with rosemary a lot this month alongside Anzus, so I just decided that for now we're going to keep it here and reassess come July. The reason why this is here is because I have been working with the spirit of Rose, and she specifically asked to have a permanent space on my altar, and also the crow spirit had been wanting me to work with the spirit of Rosemary, and it just felt right to keep that on here as well. These are my runes, and I have just hung them from the antlers, and then I have two different spell bags that I've also hung from the antlers. I don't know, just felt right. I did take off the ribbon and the other jewelry that had been held on the antlers because the spirit of the deer just kind of told me didn't want it there anymore. I also specifically asked the spirit of this deer if they still wanted to be on my altar and work with me in this way, and they said yes. So I was planning on taking it off my altar because I just kind of felt like I didn't really know why it was here anymore, but I decided that I should ask its spirit, and it still wanted to be here, but it did want me to take all of the stuff that had previously been here off, so the hibiscus, the algis kind of stick. I don't know what stone or crystal it was, but it was like a little arrowhead that I had on there, as well as a ring I had gotten from my grandma and a purple ribbon, and the spirit just asked me to take all of those things off. This is the Anzus rune because it is June, which is my month with Anzus, so I just kind of felt like it looked really cool to have it right there, and also I had been losing it a little bit amongst the clutter of my previous altar setup, so I thought this would be a good way for me to always be able to find it. And then here we have a bowl. I painted this last year on my birthday, and it just says witch bowl on the bottom. I've had this on my altar for a little bit with some dried flowers from a year or two ago, but I didn't really want those flowers on here anymore. So instead I put the paper with this month's affirmation in here and a clear quartz on top of that. And then I have the Cat and Lavender, also from the Woodland Wardens deck. This is probably one of my favorite cards. I have so many favorite cards from this deck. It's absolutely gorgeous. But I had done a reading with Freya and just kind of asked her what new card should go as my like focus card that I keep on here. This is the one that she wanted me to have on here. And yeah, so that's why it's here. This is just the eyeliner that I use to draw the rune on my skin every month, but also every time it fades or when I shower. Underneath this is a rabbit pelt that I have had for a very long time. I believe I got it from my brother, and I have a few other different small and one really big pelt, and I want to incorporate them more into my practice, but I just haven't figured out how. I was gonna take this off my altar, but then I tried this out and I thought it looked really nice and also kind of gave the deer skull a little bit of an elevation. I don't know. Obviously, like, it's not thick, so it's not really raised up above or on a platform, but I think that going from the very pretty, dainty, flower-covered tablecloth to this white fur kind of visually gives the appearance to me of kind of raising it above a little bit. So yeah. And then right here is a jar spell that I did a couple years ago on my birthday, and it is just for walking my own twisted path. It is probably the most successful spell I have ever done in 8 or so years of practice, so this one remains on my altar and will for a very long time, I think. Over here in the very back, I have just iron supplements because I need to take iron supplements. And then I have ibuprofen because I take a lot of ibuprofen. And pretty much the same reasoning as with my prescription meds. I have to take these things, so I might as well give them some magical vibes, but also to me, this is just easiest because I am usually in this space near them. This is just where I burn my incense. I forgot to fill it with more sand, so gonna have to do that later. But that is that. I'm keeping it in the back there because I don't burn incense super regularly, and I just often have found it to be kind of in the way when I have it up front. So I decided I wanted to put it in the back, and then I can pull it forward when I need to burn anything or do some incense. So yeah. Then we have my 2 deity candles here. This is for Loki, and I have this absolutely adorable statue that I got from my grandma after she died. And then the black crystal, I'm not actually sure which one this is, to be honest. I've had it for a very long time, but this is Loki's. And then we have the pendulum I used to speak with Loki. The 3 runes right there are just a message that I received from Loki. That's it. And same with these 2 cards. They are a message I received from Freya, and they're kind of long-term messages, so I've decided to keep them there until I need to do a reading with this deck or a reading with my runes, so they're gonna be here for a while. And then we have this absolutely adorable cat statue for Freya, as well as her pendulum. This is an offering of rose petals to the spirit of my home, and this right here is my money bowl. For a very long time, I had been keeping my money bowl in a plastic ice cream tub because I was really worried about attracting bugs and things, and I'll just show you why. This has many different things in it, representing different things, but I started with like a bed of herbs. My apartment complex has had a lot of bug problems and pest problems in the past, so I didn't want to provide a space for that to happen, but I've been living here a year and we've had no bug problems at all. Knock on wood. I am just not as concerned anymore. If anything happens, I will just, you know, fix it up and put it back into the tub. But the tub took up a lot of space and I wanted to have more room to work, so that's why I decided to do it this way. And then, of course, I do have many a money in here as well. I forgot to mention over here with Freya's stuff that I have this perfume. This is perfume that I have dedicated to her, so I keep that next to her. And now for the very final objects, I'm going to hold each up. I have this coaster that I got from a local festival kind of thing, and then I got this absolutely adorable doily and this doily from my grandma after she died. I got a lot of things from her after she died. But yeah, so I decided to stack it up and keep it on my altar because I often have a drink here, but it is just right here so that when I do my reading and writing here, I can have my drink here. Previously, it had just been like this because I didn't have enough room, but now that I have more room, I like that I get to keep it right here. So yeah, that is everything. Everything on my altar. Normally I really overload the fuck out of my altar and it's just very busy and very a lot. I took so much stuff off and I didn't add anything new on except for the coaster and the doilies, I believe. Yeah, that's the only new thing I put on here. I took a lot off and altered the way things were. I'm really happy with the way that it looks, the way that it feels. I feel like things flow a little bit better. I am definitely someone who changes my altar very frequently. I add things on all the time. It's totally normal for altars to change a lot. It's fine if you just have practical items. It's fine if you just have whimsical items. Any altar is a good altar if it works for you, if it works for your practice, if it makes sense for your practice. I think I definitely have felt some of the I don't know if I would call it shame or embarrassment or just like feeling just kind of sad that my altar and my practice is not as aesthetically pleasing as other people's because, you know, social media, Pinterest and TikTok witchcraft and Instagram witchcraft, it kind of, to a degree, needs to be aesthetic for people to get views. And I think it's fine to have an aesthetic practice, and it's fine to have an aesthetic altar. But if it's not practical, and if you're not really working powerful magic with it, then it's just pretty for no reason, and that's fine. I like pretty things. I like to have things pretty. But in a real, deep, spiritual practice, being pretty isn't the thing that's important. The thing that's important is that it actually works and that it's a space that is sacred to you and that feels sacred. One of the reasons I've kept the deer skull on my altar for so long is because to me it feels really sacred. When I look at it, I kind of feel like I'm in a different space. The things that I keep on my altar and the way that I work with my altar and the spirit of my altar, it is a sacred space and I carve out that sacred space. And that is more important than being aesthetic or pretty or whatever. All that to say, I am definitely not an aesthetic witch. Most of my practice is not pretty. I don't really try to make it pretty. As long as things look not terrible, and even then, my altar gets out of hand all the time, but that's when I go, okay, time for a reset. As long as you are treating your altar and your space with respect and really actually working potent magic there, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It really doesn't matter. And that is a message from me as much as it is for anyone else who sees this. I definitely don't feel as, whatever that feeling is, like ashamed of my ugly ass altar as I used to, because it used to be more of a thing. I was inspired into the craft through like Pinterest and TikTok witch stuff, and that was all very aesthetic and beautiful and, you know, artsy grimoires and beautiful spell jars and perfect coordinated altars, and everything is so beautiful, and even the outfits you wear during spell work are beautiful, and that is so not me. I wanted it to be me because it's beautiful, but it's not me. I am a chaotic, messy creature of the night, honestly. Things get messy and that's okay. Things are not perfect and that's okay. Really, the only time that I think about the clothes that I'm wearing while I'm doing spell work is like when I'm videoing it, because I don't want to look too crazy and I have to be wearing pants. Normally, most of the spell work that I'm doing, I'm not wearing pants, I'm just in boxers and a t-shirt. I like very rarely will put on a new cute whole outfit, and I'm not against that at all. I know there are a lot of people who are really into bringing fashion into their magic and their practice, and I think that's freaking sick. I do not have the energy. Yes, an aesthetic practice is beautiful, but what is so much more important is having a deep, grounded, and spiritual relationship with your practice, with your altar, with the spells that you do. They don't have to be pretty, they just need to work. And at the end of the day, come as you are. You don't have to come fake. I would love to hear from you in the comments if there is anything that is super important for you to have on your altar, what items generally stay on your altar, that sort of thing. I have been noticing some key things, like pretty much most of the items that are on my altar right now have been on my altar for a full year at this point. It's interesting to notice the items that are staying consistently. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see more altar updates as time goes on, particularly around season changes is when I do it, or when it just gets really bad and dirty and I just need to clean it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you would like to see or hear more from me in the future. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay crafty and stay kind.